Hello, it's July 28, 2021, SIG Node CI subgroup meeting. Hello, everybody. We have a small agenda, and the very top agenda item is our test stability for release. We have some test failures recently. And Mike, I just added another agenda item. Mike, do you want to start, and so we take it out of the way?
Sure, I'll start with this. So I finished merging this PR in particular. I was wondering if it's okay to backport this to 122. I understand that the deadline was yesterday, but I'm not sure if it's still possible or if it's not really critical for this version.
Oh, I'm not muted. So backports are anything that's release critical / blocking. So let me see what the PR is. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, I think it's just demoting one test that's passing anyway. So
yeah, I don't think that is release. We definitely need to cherry pick this at some point. I would say open the backport to 122, but it doesn't necessarily have to land this particular release. Okay. Basically it's up to the release team. I'm not sure if they'll take it or not.
Yeah, I don't think they will take it. It just like test was passing before, and like it's just duplication, or like two tests testing the same thing.
So it's important that we eventually backport this, because like we don't want things that are potentially failing us to fail 122 conformance.
No, they're not failing. They're just testing the same thing.
Yeah.
You're sure it's just a duplicate? I thought that it was.
It's just a conformance mode thing.
Yeah, I think that was the confusion last time we discussed, and I looked at the history, and Paco, I think, confirmed in one of the PRs that it's just a duplication rather than failing tests. So I don't think we need it.
Probably not.
Okay,
critical,
I can file the backward, but then I shouldn't worry too much about this getting in this release.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for following up.
Definitely.
Okay, let me share my screen and open the link. I'm lost in buttons. Okay.
So I just pulled in the PR that I opened. Yes, we can see your screen. Okay. I just pulled in the PR that I opened for the dynamic cube config metrics to 122. So that's new.
So I think we may not need it, because my understanding is that it may have happened because master was bumped to 123 already, and that test started failing in master, and they may not fail in 122 branch.
So I know that we like bisected that to be sure, because those tests started failing like a while back. I don't know if it was when they bumped the version.
Okay, then we need to double check.
Yeah, like they've been failing for a decent amount of time. I don't know if it's been quite since like the metrics were deprecated, or if it happened after the 123 bump, or what's going on, but
yeah. Okay, well, I mean, it's already approved and it's a small change, so likely we can just take it and see what's going on. But it will be interesting to confirm what the behavior is supposed to be for hidden metrics, especially since we cannot unhide them easily in the end-to-end tests.
Yeah, well, so I flagged this to Han earlier today, because I think this is honestly the first time that somebody has tried to use this for a feature deprecation, as opposed to just like removing metrics and replacing them with something else. So I think like the deprecation process was designed to work for like stable metrics. I haven't seen somebody try to deprecate an alpha metric quite like this before. So basically, I am not entirely sure. We're working in SIG instrumentation on like what conventions for this sort of thing should look like, because we haven't really gone through this much before. So, I mean, it's possible that just like the release version has already been bumped to 123 in master, and that's why some of these tests are failing. But then that doesn't explain like why we've been unable to debug all of the other test failures that are causing problems. For those on the call who are not sure which test failures I'm talking about, there are two issues in here marked release blocker. And one of them is a SIG storage test, so I've not been focusing on that one. One is the kubelet serial failures. So we need to get that fixed. We're not entirely sure why those are failing, but we have a number of tests that started failing, particularly these dynamic kubelet config reliant tests that started failing during test freeze. So we need to figure out what's going on with that before we can release, because the signal is not great right now. And because the job is like overall broken, it makes it even harder to, like, we can't just be like, okay, it's green, great, let's go. So it's possible that maybe what we should do is we should mark the two tests that are known failures as flaky, and then they'll get skipped, and then we can possibly get the job green. But I have not previously suggested that.
Yeah, that may be a good course of action.
Are the two tests failing in the serial lane the one I posted?
Yeah, they're the ones that you're
for?
working on. The two issues that are like not currently in this milestone, but we know,
Okay.
and you're working on them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm confident at least the device plugin stuff it's actually fixing. Too bad this. Well, we cannot merge it now for all good reasons, but still.
Yeah, well, what you can do is if I add like a flaky label to them now or something like that, then later you can take that off. And
yeah, of course. That's no problem. I just
Okay.
wanted to see if there is more I was not aware of.
Okay. Yeah, so that sounds good. I can go ahead and do that, and maybe that will give. I know DIMS has been not super confident because those jobs are failing, and so when, for example, we did the run C bump, we couldn't get any green signal being like, yes, this is good to go, let's ship it. So I don't know if we'll be able to get kubelet serial to green before the end of the week, but I could certainly try. So
Yeah, some of the tests were green before, so this gives.
Yeah.
some
One
confidence.
frustration, Sergey, do you know if there's any way to get more than 2 weeks of history on test grid, or is that the limit? Because like a month at this point would be good. The problem is test freeze is so long that I can't compare back to like July 7th, July 8th anymore.
I think
We had
there is
so
a
much
garbage
stuff
collection,
planned
which
then.
is very aggressive.
I see.
I think. I mean, we can double check with Aaron, but I think last time I tried, I couldn't find a way. I wonder what happened at 720.
Mhm.
That may well be bump of a master version.
So I don't know
It's just a week
why.
ago.
I guess the release team hasn't bumped the two flakes at sort of our bottom of our list here. Does anybody have any objections to me like punting those to 123 for them? Because I don't think that at this point, given that the release is in a week, I don't think we have any chance of getting those done.
I mean, this may. I mean, we have this PR from Matthias to increase the timeouts, right? So maybe we can just take
Yeah.
it.
So, but at this point,
I'm
like
sure.
we're not fixing flakes anymore. We're just trying to fix things that are going to break the release. So. They're like test flakes are annoying, but you know,
Yeah.
it's not release
Okay.
breaking.
Makes
so,
sense. Yeah, let's
okay,
do
I'll
that.
punt those two. And Peter, do you know what's going on with the two, or no, not two, just one, the one cryo test failures there?
I do actually have a suspicion, and I think it's the fault of a change in cryo, but I want to see, like, I think it is also a problem with the way that the test is. So I'm like trying to see, there might be a cube fix that I'll propose, but it shouldn't have to be a release blocker.
Okay, great. So I'll punt that one to 123 as well. And then that should clean up this list.
Yeah.
So I saw the comment that it may be related to Fedora version, something like that.
Actually, so the suspicion is there. We've been in cryo trying to drop the pause container by default, and I think the test, the like stats summary test, is expecting the pause container to exist, and cAdvisor also is. So it like is failing to get some stats, and I think that's kind of muddling with the test. So I need to like dig in to see who's at fault there.
Interesting. And
Okay,
I'm
so
curious
they-
why it just started now.
Because the tests are on the latest. And so as
Oh, I see.
soon as the thing gets bumped, like the tests could potentially change, which is
Okay.
why we don't normally do that.
Yeah, I mean, I also have a PR up to stop that if people want to look at that.
Now is
Because-
probably not the time to merge it, but maybe in a week plus a day.
Sure.
Sergey, if you want to refresh, I just changed the milestones on 3 of them. So our list for 122 stuff should now be a decent bit shorter. Only 4 things left.
Yeah, I wonder, like for this bump of metric duplication to 123, we don't run serial on 122. Do we need to cherry pick it back to 122 or not? Because like whether we do it or not, we have no way to validate that it's working.
What do you mean we have no way to validate that it's working?
I mean, we don't run serial tests on 122 periodically, right? So 122 is just kubelet features
Ah, I see.
and kubelet 122.
I mean, we
so
can
we
set that
don't-
up.
Yeah, we never did it because we didn't consider serial. Like serial was not super stable for a long time, like before my
Yes.
times. So we never considered to make it release blocking and
Yeah, I think
like
that
running
there's some,
periodically for earlier versions.
like we do generally want to get things in earlier versions to be like more stable now, right? So we spend a bunch of time trying to unbreak the serial tests. I mean, now is probably not the time to be like, by the way, we want to add all this stuff to like 122. But I think certainly going forward, we can look at like adding some of the stuff and adding periodics as soon as like, you know, we cut 123 or something. I think we're making progress on stability here. It's just a matter of, you know, getting it done. I am worried about like, I mean, fundamentally right now, the problem is we had like probably a dozen things all land the day of code freeze. And as a result, we had a bunch of regressions happen, all starting at code freeze, and it's impossible to tell, you know, which was what. So it's like challenging to kind of go through. For example, like looking at the kubelet serial failures, the new failures, like I thought, oh, surely this is, you know, this thing or that thing. And then Clayton comes back and says, well, all these metrics are missing. So like these tests are failing. And I'm like, what? So
Yeah, my problem is that so far, like we didn't find anything in serial tests that were actual product problem, right? So we found a problem with race condition on what was it, device test or something. We found this disk pressure.
there's a few things that were showing up that I think were legitimate. For example, like we had the thing that we're really trying to track down right now is like the reason a bunch of the tests are failing is that we have this one test that like fills up the disk and it was failing, which meant it was not cleaning up after itself. So there are all these files left on the disk. The disk was out of space, and then all the rest of the tests would fail. So like that's really not good. And you can't get any signal up beyond that because then everything just fails because of disk pressure. So but
my
that
point
potentially
is,
could have indicated a real problem with like static pod storage cleanup. So, but yeah, without all, you know, with all this other stuff potentially blocking, then it's like, oh, why is this failing and why is that failing? Everything's failing. Ah.
yeah, but looking at this list, if you will confirm that this thing was caused by version bump in master. So if version bump in master happened at 720, then probably it's coincide with the start of failures, right? So if it happens at date, then we can tell that this is not a cause. We don't need this fix in 122. And then what will be left? Oh, we don't know because we cannot run all other tests. So we need another fix to make it flaky, right? I mean, mark the test as flaky. And then we can get a green potentially.
Yeah, so I don't know, let me open the notes. I will take an action to mark the known failures as flaky.
Yeah, my problem is we're trying to make serial tests as release blocking, but then we never will run them periodically for 122. Plus, we never did it before, so like we have some test failures. Like so far, we only discovered test failures and test inconsistencies.
Yeah, it's not. So I mean, for like additional context, I think the worry is not merely that like we do want to treat these things as serial and whatnot, because we had such a big refactor with the plague land in 122. I think we want to be really sure that this is not going to cause problems. And I know, at least in initial testing that we've been doing at Red Hat, we've been having issues with the performance of clusters going from 121 to 122, particularly with like IO performance, like very initial results, but like concerning enough for me to say, like, I really want to get these tests green, and I want to like try to get an idea of what's going on, so that we don't end up like releasing with big blockers like that or big performance regressions.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I understand the potential critical bugs we can discover, but at this stage, I don't know how much we should mark it as release blocking. We never did. And like if all
we have not confirmed yet that the test failures in like kubelet serial, the new test failures, we have not confirmed that they are not like actually critical regressions. I think that's the problem.
And
so,
we've
like,
also found there have also been multiple that were critical regressions. And so until we've at least investigated all of them, like it's kind of worrying for an actual release.
Yeah, Danielle, you did that one that I found. There was the new failure, and you did the deep dive on that one, and that one was, again, like pretty serious bug that we caught. So that one I think was also marked like critical urgent fix right now.
There's also like a bunch of like recent like C-Advisor like issues from the last like 121 releases and stuff. So we're not in a good state at all.
We could potentially backport a bunch of these things. It's just a question of like, are things so broken we can't release? My concern is if we have a bunch of like tests that previously were not failing that are now failing, we need to like get rid of all of the signal causing them to fail and like make sure like, are they failing for legitimate reasons or are they not? Because we don't have any other things to really go on here. So
yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm gonna be working on this week, doing as much of that as possible, so we can try to get this green.
The rest of the eviction failures, by the way, seem to mostly be actual flakiness as opposed to being broken, in that I can make them all pass individually. But running them all together like is kind of a mess, and so I'm trying to make those not be trash.
So is it fine to track it all in one issue with serial tests?
Yeah. Well, so I think
Okay.
the eviction stuff are not in the milestone. I think like we're kind of going through. If you, I don't know, maybe my screen is frozen, but if you refresh the 122 milestone list, it's much shorter now because I bumped a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's just 4 items.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I still have the old screen.
Yeah, me too.
You can reshare.
Oh, there we
Does it
go.
work?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so we just got the 4 items. We know that there seems to be some sort of actual subpath regression happening with SIG storage, and we need to help them if that ends up being on us. And then similarly for the kubelet serial failures, like we need to get that test semi-green as soon as possible, so that we can say it's not our problem, like nothing's broken, it's all cool. But right now I just don't have the confidence, so.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, so we have 2 action items. Merge this one and mark something as flaky, and we'll see how test grid will look like after that. Okay. Any other agenda items today?
Maybe it's worth to mention that we also have CPU manager when it's broken. And the problem is that it's not only the CPU manager is broken, it's all managers broken because of the Clayton refactor. But again, like we assumed that the buggy behavior is the expected one, and now we should to fix all manager like CPU, device, and memory manager according to Clayton refactoring. I'm currently working on it. I already prepared, like, I believe it's the 3rd iteration.
If you don't mind, I wouldn't call it Clayton refactoring. I will call it plague refactoring.
Okay. Okay, sure. No worries. And again, it can be pretty nasty for like all users that will use guaranteed pods for some low latency or high performance workloads, because again, they will expect like pinning CPU, isolation, and stuff like this, and they will not have it. It will not crash the kubelet like we already discussed under the thread, but again, it can be pretty serious.
And it will make the serial lane break. So great that you raised.
So it will mark some serial test fail, like which ones?
No, CPU manager is running in the serial lane, isn't it?
It
So-
can be device plugin, by the way. Like
I think that there's also a separate CPU manager test.
Okay,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Running,
We have a
yeah, the
separate lane
kubelet
for it.
serial CPU manager tab. It's the
Okay.
next tab on test grid. Yeah.
in
one.
that case, yes, it won't break the serial lane.
But sorry, under the serial lane, if you will back, I saw also some CPU manager test. Like probably it's again the problem is focused and skip. So yeah, we have some.
Okay.
Yeah, there are definitely some flakes. For those sorts of issues, I think that like those wouldn't be release blocking. Like not everything out of the box is going to be using the CPU manager. So like they're definitely urgent. We should fix them. They're probably not going to block the release. But like the kubelet is failing to clean up files from static pods, for example, that would block the release. So just we're so deep into test freeze, and it's really long, 4 weeks. So yeah, I saw that issue. I punted it from the milestone, or I think I didn't pull it into the milestone because it was filed late. Definitely a priority, and we should probably like, we have too many P0s, so maybe that's P1.
So I wonder if there is a mechanism to add the release node as a known issue. Like what would be the mechanism to do that?
I don't know. We may want to talk to the release team.
Artyom, can you take an action item to ask on the Slack?
Sure. Just let me under the document because I surely will forget it.
I don't have your email. Let me send you document so you can add yourself. Okay, any other action items? Agenda items? I think we can skip triage today. Going one. Alana, are you okay with skipping triage?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I have no problem with that, because triage, like everything that we've been doing in triage is probably gonna be lower priority than this. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay then. Let's cut it short. Thank you, everybody. Let's release 122. Bye.
Cool. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.